All right. Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for dropping on by. I hope you are enjoying this series on Blazor WebAssembly. And if you're not, that's cool too. You're here watching it, so you must be getting something out of it. Either way, I appreciate your support and I appreciate you hanging out. That's really cool. What I want to talk about today is seeding our database. If I remember correctly from our last time we hung out, we put together this DBContext class, or I should say we added more to it by adding our DB sets of a room and our DB sets of furniture. And over here we defined what a furniture is and a room is. And those things were kind of connected together through what we call a foreign key, which we're going to talk a little bit more about in the future. But as you can see here, every piece of furniture has a foreign key that is the room ID, and that connects it to a room. And then of course the room is just a room with an ID, name, and description. And then if I remember correctly, we also set up some databases, and with those databases you can actually see those in SQL Server Object Explorer. And you can just do that by going to the very top one here in my case and just bringing those arrows down to databases. We call this home furnishings, and then tables. And then I've got my two tables right here. And if you right click on those tables, you can say view data, and you should see at least the databases there. I noticed that there's a weird kind of thing here where, like, if I got the database and open it up, it doesn't actually show anything. But if you like do that and then maximize it again, you should see your database. Now, I've got some stuff in here, but you shouldn't see anything in there just yet. And that's okay. I'm actually going to get rid of this and get back to square one, so I'm there with you guys. I had to do some practicing before I did all this. So I'm going to say .NET EF database drop. And that is a cool little command that you can use to like get rid of your database. If at any time you want to get rid of your database, you don't need it no more, or you want to rebuild it, just go ahead and .NET EF database drop and say yes, and boom, it should be gone. No more database. And if I go and check again, there shouldn't be any database there, which of course, you know, like in this case, that's what I wanted. And you'll see that there's nothing there anymore for me to click on. So that's cool. So I'm going to get out of that. Now, I also want to, last time we did some migrations. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of those migrations too. You can actually do this too. We're just going to go ahead and delete the migration, get rid of it completely. No big deal. All right, problem solved. We're good. And what I want to do now is I want to actually rebuild the database, but this time I'm going to seed the database as well. Now there's two ways that you can seed there's two ways that I know of to seed the database, and I'm going to show you both of those ways. I'm going to show you the first one right here, and it's kind of common, especially for developmental purposes, and it works. It's not exactly the best in my opinion, just because it puts all of your data in the DB context, all of your C data in the DB context class, which isn't always a great idea. But it works, especially for developmental purposes. And then in the next video, I'll show you how to seed the data from a separate class, someplace else. And I think that one is, in my opinion, a little bit better. So what I'm going to be doing here is I'm going to start with a, let's see, I'm going to actually add in a new method. So open up your DB context class. Again, it should be in data, and we call it home furnishings context. So there we go. And I'm going to say protected override, and I'm going to call this on model creating, and it should just populate all that for you with the IntelliCode, but if not, on model creating, and then we'll have this model builder object injected here. We're going to keep this base.onModelCreating.modelBuilder, or parentheses model builder, and then underneath that we're going to add our stuff. So what this is going to look like is model builder entity, and then we want to start with our rooms. So angle brackets, room, parentheses, and then after that we're going to say, whoops, let me get rid of those extra parentheses, dot, we're going to say has data, and then new room, and then curly braces. There we go, and we'll finish this off with a semicolon. And there we go. So essentially what we've done here is we've said that when we create the model, we're going to build part of the model with this entity of room, and that's going to be a new room, and we're going to add in the different properties of that room right here as we go. And so if we look over here, we'll see that a room has these three main properties: ID, name, and description. So we're going to add those in there. So we're going to say ID equals 1. We're going to say name equals, we're going to call it the living room, and oops, and then we're going to say a description of I don't know, this room is for general purposes. Okay, and that's it. Pretty simple. And now we've just created an entity for our database. Now, I'm not a huge fan of copying and pasting code a whole bunch at once, but if I'm doing little chunks here and there, that's totally cool. And so that's what I'm going to do here. I'm going to go ahead and copy just that section and then paste it just below and just make a couple modifications. So this will be ID of 2. We're going to call this the dining room. And this one will, for the description, let's see, for gatherings around the dining table. Okay. And then one more. Actually, I'm just going to do that. One more. And this room will be given an ID of 3. And we'll call it the, the kitchen. And then finally, in the kitchen, we prepare our food here. All right. Now we got some rooms going on, and now what I want to do is add some furniture. So furniture is going to work pretty much the same way, except furniture has one extra thing. So first of all, I'm going to just change this from room to furniture. I'm going to change this new room to new furniture. I don't need those square brackets there. Now, because I'm starting a whole new set of things, I can use an ID of 1 here. Ideally, it would be, or if this was another room, then it wouldn't want to be an ID of 1 because each one of these IDs has to be unique. That's how it's accessed in the database. But because I'm making a new object and a new table in the database, furniture, I can use 1 again. So that's what I'm going to do. Is I'm going to use 1, and I'm going to say for this piece of furniture, it is a couch, and the description is going to be, we sit here together. Now here's the other thing. If I go back to my entity furniture, furniture has one extra thing here that I've got to add in. That's going to be room ID. And you may be asking like, wait, what about this down here? This foreign key, room ID, is referring to here. And what this is basically telling Entity Framework is that I'm going to give you a room ID. So in this case, I want to give it a room ID of 1, because that is the living room, and I think that's where the couch should go. I'm telling you that this piece of furniture has a room ID of 1. And the room ID of 1 refers to the living room. So when I gather this particular piece of data from the database, later on when we build our program a little bit more intricately, we are going to also call for the room that this piece of furniture goes to. And so this room ID will be how we reference that. So what we'll do is we'll say like, hey, get me the couch, so ID of 1, and get me what room it's in as well. And that room ID is going to allow us to access all of the room features. So if I get the couch entity from the database, it will also come with the room features as well, so that I can also access those. And I'll show you what I mean a little bit later on, but it's kind of a cool thing in the database. It allows you to make just one database call, but still get multiple entities from that database. And then we're going to add in one more piece of furniture. This will be an ID of 2. I'm going to say that it is going to be with a room ID of 2, because it's going to be the dining room. And I'll call this the dining table. And its description is that it is a table for gathering together to eat. If you grew up in a house like mine, your kitchen and dining room were basically the same room. So I'm not sure if you've got a dining table, that's cool. But I didn't have one of those. We just sat wherever we could find a seat. So anyways, so all right, now I've got that in there. Now this isn't the best way to see the database, but it works. Okay. And so now I'm going to basically redo a lot of the stuff that I did in the last video down here. So first I'm going to say .NET EF add, migrations add, and I'm going to call it initial create again. And then I'm going to say -O because I want to put it in a certain directory. I'm going to say data/migrations and do that. And that should make a new initial create migration. There we go. Then I'm going to say .NET build, and that should rebuild the project. Cool. All right. And then, oh, almost forgot, because I didn't make a database, or because I got rid of the database, I want to do .NET database update. There we go. Oh, geez. .NET EF database update. Raise your hand if that happens to you all the time. My hand would just be up forever. Okay, and so now let's check out our database. SQL Server Object Explorer. I'm going to refresh. I'm gonna go here, databases. Hey, we got home furnishings, cool. And so that means we got some tables, we got some rooms and furniture. Let's see if it actually populated with what we just said. Okay, typical, nothing. Shrink that down. There we go. Look at that. That's pretty cool. So now I have 3 rooms in my room table. And if I go to furnitures, I should see 2 pieces of furniture in my furniture database. Let me do that. Hey, there we go. I got a couch and a dining table. And each one of those has a room ID to go along with its actual ID. So that's cool. All right. So that is one way to see the database. Next video, I'm going to show you a different way to see the database, and that's going to be the way that we're going to use from that point on in this program. But I just wanted to show you this way. So if you want to if you're making a program in the future and you want to just do the quick and dirty, get some data in there, this is the fastest way to do it for sure. I don't recommend this for necessarily production. I'd rather encapsulate my data a little bit so that I can give access to other people so they can add data or what have you, other developers on the team without having to give them access to the DBContext or whatever. But I mean, it's doable. It can be done. So anyways, that's that for that video. And I will see you in the next one where we do a different way of seeding our data that I think you're going to like. All right. Until then, goodbye, friends.